I just finished watching episode 2 of Diddy's documentary on Netflix, The Reckoning. And so this episode starts off with talking about his relationship with Tupac. And apparently he wanted to work with Tupac on a business level, but Tupac was never interested. Diddy was said to be threatened by Tupac and jealous of the relationship that him and Biggie had. In November of 1994, Tupac was in New York and he was gonna do a song with Lil Sean. And when he pulled up to the studio, he was shot 5 times and he was rushed to the hospital and he had to get surgery.
I think that he set up the atmosphere for both of those kids. He didn't have anything to do. He set up the atmosphere to bring that type of behavior that led to those kids' death.
According to The Reckoning, the explosive new documentary shaking the industry, Sean Diddy Combs allegedly offered $1 million to have Tupac Shakur taken out.
And when he got out of the hospital, he said he knew he was set up because who leaves behind $80,000 worth of Rolexes? Because they ended up not taking anything and just shot him. Diddy claims that him and Biggie had nothing to do with the robbery. At that time, Diddy was in over his head because he was managing both Biggie and...
Not only that, but Las Vegas police are finally paying attention, reopening parts of the case with fresh eyes and newly surfaced evidence that was hidden for decades.
You know, I say this all the time. I don't really want to believe that he was that diabolical behind Big being murdered. Because that Big thing was a whole setup, and we know that. But feelings will never change facts.
However, Diddy ended up finding out that Suge was trying to take one of his artists and he wasn't happy about that. After that,
This isn't just another rumor. The Reckoning claims to include never-before-heard testimony from insiders, detectives.
Maybe he was responsible for that murder, which has never been proven. That's a very serious
But
thing.
you have Keefe D over in Vegas now, getting ready to go on trial for that case, saying those things.
That's the thing, though. That's the only thing that I would say, because it's hard to fight somebody like 50 because 50, you know what I mean, he gonna expose a lot of skeletons. But the other thing is, though, Diddy got a lot of money. Yeah. So it's like, it's not a lot of people.
And witnesses who've kept quiet for nearly 30 years. The kind of evidence that, if true, could end careers, spark investigations, and destroy legacies. At the center of it all, a toxic mix of jealousy, betrayal, and power, buried beneath fame and fortune. But this story doesn't begin with police files or confessions. It started long before. The night Diddy met the man who would become his greatest rival. But this story doesn't start in 2025. It started the night Diddy met his biggest rival. To understand how deep this story goes, you have to go back to the mid-1990s, when hip-hop wasn't just music, it was war. Diddy was on top of the East Coast, the face of Bad Boy Records, producing hit after hit with artists like Biggie Smalls. But on the other side of the country, Tupac was rewriting what it meant to be a rap icon. Bold, poetic, rebellious. He had charisma that couldn't be replicated, and that alone made him a threat.
Tupac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold. I had to make the call to Biggie. I said, we not gonna respond. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Then came Sarah Chapman, the woman who would quietly tie their worlds together. Sarah wasn't just anyone. She was Diddy's long-term love interest, someone he once described as his dream girl. But when photos surfaced of Tupac and Sarah together, Diddy's world reportedly shifted. Friends of both camps later claimed his jealousy went beyond personal. It was professional. Tupac was everywhere. The charts, the tabloids, the studios. Diddy, known for controlling every narrative, was suddenly watching his rival take the spotlight he believed belonged to him. It was no longer about music or labels. It became personal and dangerous. And that's when whispers about the first attempt began. In 1994, the tension finally snapped. Tupac was ambushed in a New York studio, shot multiple times, and left for dead. At the time, the world thought it was just another robbery. But Tupac didn't buy that story for a second. From his hospital bed, he pointed fingers, directly at people connected to Diddy and Bad Boy. In interviews and songs that followed, he made it clear he believed someone in Diddy's circle wanted him gone. He even said in one chilling interview, "I believe so. I got proof. Things I can say that'll back up my claim. But this isn't for the world to know about."
When them dudes put out the pistols to me, man, who was that, man? It was these fools from New York, this gang out there called the A-Team. These fools was mad because I told them I wasn't fucking with them no more. Man, them motherfuckers, I was mad as hell about that. But when they pulled the pistols out, I swear on everything I love, first thing I thought about was reading in your book when you was talking about how you felt when them niggas drew down on you.
Ain't that cold?
Exactly how I felt. The setup, the shit you was talking about, how you just look up and the nigga be like, boom,
right there at you.
Everything was just like that.
When I was reading about the shit that happened to you, I was like, man, this shit is straight like parallel to me.
It's exactly.
I'm telling you, can't nobody
bug me out.
Those words were a warning and a promise. Tupac knew something he was never able to say out loud. And that silence, it only fueled the rumors. But that wasn't the last time their paths would cross, because Diddy wasn't done. Nearly 3 decades later, the Reckoning documentary finally pulled the curtain back. According to sworn statements, interviews, and leaked files, Diddy allegedly offered $1 million to a group of 40 gang members at a private event, with one condition: Tupac needs to be dealt with. A former LAPD detective who worked the case backed up the claims, saying that Diddy allegedly met with Keefe D, a known street figure from Compton, and put a bounty on Tupac and Suge Knight's heads. Think about that. $1 million deal exchanged behind closed doors, fueled by ego, jealousy, and fear of losing control over hip-hop's future. And now, decades later, police in Las Vegas are reportedly revisiting those very allegations. Some investigators say the new evidence is too serious to ignore. But if this happened, why didn't the feds act back then? But the real question, why didn't the feds investigate sooner? The mystery deepened when Keefe D himself came forward years later during an LAPD proffer session. He admitted that he was in the car the night Tupac was taken out, and even described how it all went down. It began earlier that evening at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, where Tupac and Suge Knight had gone to see a Mike Tyson fight. After the match, Tupac spotted a rival gang member named Orlando "Baby Lane" Anderson, someone who'd stolen from him years before.
So you had a proffer deal. So that means whatever you say during that day was like nothing could ever be used against you.
Exactly.
During that day.
Yeah.
The confrontation turned physical fast. Fists flying, security swarming, cameras rolling. That altercation wasn't just a fight, it was a trigger. Within hours, Baby Lane was furious, telling his uncle Keefe D exactly what happened. According to Keefe's own words, that was when the crew decided to find Tupac that same night. In a white Cadillac, they cruised down the Vegas Strip until they found Suge's BMW. Tupac leaned out the window, talking to fans. And that's when the Cadillac pulled up beside them. 4 shots rang out. Tupac was hit multiple times. Keefe D later claimed Baby Lane pulled the trigger, but his own involvement in setting it up was undeniable. Still, despite his confession, authorities never charged Diddy, and many key witnesses have since disappeared or died. Even with confessions, evidence, and new testimony, the case never truly closed. And somehow, the truth keeps getting stranger.
As you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually see a gun?
Oh, shit. Once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
Started shooting at Tupac and Shakur.
But even with a confession, the case never truly closed. And that's where things get stranger. As investigators reopened old files, new theories started surfacing. Ones that painted an even darker picture of the night Tupac was taken out. Some insiders began to wonder if Diddy wasn't the only one pulling strings. Names like Suge Knight and even Snoop Dogg started to circle back into the conversation, and the connections were too strange to ignore.
We get to the private plane, Suge, like, they can't go.
Your security.
They can't go. Security like, all right, well, come on with us, dog. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna stay down. I'm ride with them.
Back in the day, Suge Knight was one of the most feared figures in hip-hop. The Death Row Records boss had built an empire on loyalty and intimidation. But when Tupac started hinting at leaving Death Row to go independent, people inside the label noticed the tension. Investigators like Detective Russell Poole even theorized that Suge might have set up Tupac's death to prevent him from walking away and to pin the blame on a rival gang. And then there was Snoop Dogg, one of Tupac's closest friends, who later admitted their relationship had soured just days before the shooting. In interviews, Snoop revealed he was supposed to be in that same BMW with Tupac and Suge, but chose not to go after a heated argument.
Dude, because he was really my friend, and you know, you guys, sometimes motherfuckers be talking like they don't really know, but that was my friend, and he was like dear to me. And anytime you got a relationship with somebody and it's like, it's working, it's going good, and then y'all get an argument and the nigga die. Like, come on, man, I didn't even get a chance, whether I was wrong or right, just to be able to get that follow-up, because that's how we were.
To some, it was just bad timing. To others, it looked like foresight. Even Eminem once hinted at this tangled web in an unreleased verse, spitting, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the passing of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the planet." Those lyrics, combined with years of whispers, made fans question if Suge had orchestrated both Tupac's and Biggie's deaths as part of a twisted power play.
If you knew who killed Tupac, would you tell the police?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because it's not my job. I don't get paid to solve homicides. I don't get paid to tell on people.
If you knew, you wouldn't tell them?
No.
But here's where it gets even more bizarre. Detectives later discovered that Suge might have intentionally blamed a rival Crip crew to distract police from looking at his own team. That move, if true, would explain why the investigation hit a dead end for years. Snoop, too, seemed to be living with unanswered questions. He once said in an interview, "A week before he died, we were brothers. 2 days before, I don't think he even liked me." That kind of tension.
Me and Pac had a misunderstanding before he passed away, and that always rubbed me the wrong way because that was really my friend, and I didn't have an opportunity to apologize or either to hear his apology or either just to get an understanding or middle of the street. All right, we cool, I get that. So I had to talk to his spirit as opposed to talking to him. And
just hours before one of the most mysterious shootings in music history only deepened the speculation. And yet, despite all the rumors, no one could prove who truly orchestrated what. The truth seemed to shift depending on who was telling it. Suge, Snoop, Diddy, or the streets themselves. And if that sounds wild, it's nothing compared to what came next. For decades, one question has refused to die. Did Tupac? Because while the official story says Tupac passed away days after the shooting, several witnesses, including Suge Knight himself, have insisted something doesn't add up. Suge, who was sitting right next to Tupac in that BMW, has repeatedly claimed that Tupac was conscious, laughing, and talking in the hospital. He told reporters, "When I left that hospital, me and Pac were joking. I don't see how someone can turn from doing well to doing bad." Then, years later, Suge's own son reignited the mystery. In 2018, he flooded Instagram with posts claiming Tupac was alive and living overseas, specifically in Malaysia. He even shared what looked like text messages saying, "You said too much, time for you to go." Within hours, he posted more. Photos of Tupac with modern-day celebrities like Beyoncé and 50 Cent, hinting that they were trying to silence him. As wild as it sounds, the internet exploded because around the same time, an old interview clip from 2010 resurfaced, featuring rapper Trey, one of Tupac's close friends. When a journalist asked when he last saw Tupac, Trey casually replied, "Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba." That single line reignited the Tupac is alive in Cuba theory, one that's persisted for years. Even grainy footage began circulating online, allegedly showing a man who looked eerily similar to Tupac, walking through Havana streets. And it didn't stop there. Some conspiracy theorists pointed out Tupac's ties to the Black Panthers and his stepfather's government connections, suggesting he may have been part of a deeper mission, a political movement disguised as a rap career. Was it possible that Tupac faked his death to escape a war he could no longer control? Or was it just another urban legend, born from grief and denial? If that's true, then the biggest twist of all might be who helped him disappear. Now, almost 30 years later, the reckoning has forced everyone to look again, this time under the glare of modern media, digital archives, and an audience that won't accept silence. The documentary, produced in part by 50 Cent, doesn't just revisit old interviews. It brings new evidence to light. Legal filings reportedly mention Diddy's name 77 times, connecting him to witnesses, meetings, and money transfers that had been overlooked for decades. It's not the first time 50 Cent has gone after Diddy. For years, he's posted cryptic messages online, hinting that Diddy had something to do with Tupac's hit. But now, with this documentary trending across every platform, that long-standing feud feels less like trolling and more like a mission. And law enforcement seems to be taking it seriously. Sources close to the Las Vegas investigation say that detectives are re-examining Diddy's ties to key players like Keefe D, who's already confessed to being in the car that night. But the reckoning also raises bigger questions. How much of what we know about hip-hop's golden era was real? How much was orchestrated? And if one domino falls, if Diddy is truly implicated, what other names from the 1990s will come crashing down with him? But if Diddy falls, what else from the 90s will come crashing down with him? 3 decades later, Tupac's legacy remains untouchable, but his story is anything but clear. From alleged million-dollar bounties and jealous rivalries to secret confessions and mysterious sightings, the lines between fact and myth have completely blurred. Was this really about revenge? About jealousy? Or something much deeper? A war for control over the culture itself? Maybe Tupac's story isn't about how he died at all. Maybe it's about how many people were willing to hide the truth to protect what they built. And now, as the reckoning reopens the wounds of an era once thought buried, the world is asking the same haunting question all over again. So what do you believe? Is this the reckoning Diddy always feared, or just another chapter in hip-hop's biggest mystery? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video to support the channel. Subscribe to Holly Hyde TV for the latest updates. And turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, peace out.